Thomas knew hardship like the back of his calloused hand. Every day was a struggle, a constant battle against an empty stomach and a world that seemed to have turned its back on him. He lived in a run-down shack, its walls thin as paper against the biting wind. Work was scarce, and hunger his only companion. But even in his darkest hours, Thomas clung to a flicker of hope, a tiny ember in his heart that refused to be extinguished. It was the ember of kindness, of compassion for those around him. He knew what it meant to suffer, and he wouldn't wish it on anyone. One particularly bleak evening, as the sky wept with a cold, relentless rain, Thomas found himself with only a single piece of bread left, his only sustenance for the foreseeable future. His stomach grumbled in protest, urging him to devour it, to silence the gnawing hunger. As he sat there, lost in the turmoil of his own despair, a figure emerged from the swirling gray mist. An old man, frail and stooped with age, his clothes as tattered as Thomas's own. He approached slowly, his eyes reflecting a lifetime of hardship. The old man looked at Thomas, his eyes filled with a quiet desperation that mirrored his own. He didn't speak, but the plea in his eyes spoke volumes. Thomas knew that look, the raw, silent cry for help. A battle raged within him. His stomach screamed in protest, his body craving the meager sustenance the bread offered. But the ember in his heart, that tiny spark of kindness, burned bright, urging him to share his last morsel with the stranger. In that moment, Thomas made a choice that defied logic, a choice that sprang from the purest wellspring of his being. He broke the bread in half, offering one piece to the stranger with a trembling hand. "Please," Thomas rasped, his voice hoarse with emotion. "Take it, I have more." It was a lie, of course, but one born out of compassion, not deceit. The old man's eyes widened in surprise, and for a moment a flicker of something akin to awe touched his weathered features. He accepted the bread with a reverence that belied its simplicity. As they shared the meager meal, a strange sense of peace settled over Thomas. The gnawing hunger was still there, but it was eclipsed by something else, a warmth that spread through him like a ray of sunshine piercing through the clouds. The old man ate slowly, savoring each bite as if it were manna from heaven. When he finished, he looked at Thomas, his eyes no longer filled with desperation but with a strange intensity. "You have shown me great kindness, Thomas," the old man said, his voice surprisingly strong. "True generosity comes not from abundance, but from a heart overflowing with love." He reached out and placed a hand on Thomas's shoulder. A jolt, like a surge of electricity, ran through Thomas's body. The old man's touch seemed to pulsate with an unseen energy. "Your kindness will not go unrewarded," the old man continued, his voice echoing with an otherworldly power. "Go now, to the riverbank at dawn. There, you will find your blessing." And just as suddenly as he appeared, the old man vanished, melting back into the swirling mist as if he were never there. Section 4. The Ripple Effect of Kindness. Thomas sat there stunned, his mind reeling from the encounter. Was it real or a figment of his hunger-addled mind? As dawn approached, he found himself drawn to the riverbank, an inexplicable pull guiding his steps. And there, nestled among the reeds, was a sight that made his heart leap into his throat. A small wooden chest, ornately carved and gleaming faintly in the first light of dawn. He cautiously approached, his heart pounding in his chest. As he laid his hand on the chest, a wave of warmth washed over him. He lifted the lid and gasped at the sight before him. Inside, nestled on a bed of velvet, lay a fortune in gold coins, more wealth than Thomas could have ever imagined in his wildest dreams. Tears welled up in his eyes, hot and wet on his cheeks. It was real. The old man, the blessing, it was all real. His act of kindness, his willingness to share his last with a stranger had been rewarded in the most unexpected way. Section 5. A Life Transformed. News of Thomas's newfound wealth spread through the village like wildfire. Some whispered of magic, others of divine intervention. But Thomas knew the truth. It wasn't magic or fate. It was the direct result of his own compassion. He used his wealth not to elevate himself, but to uplift his community. He built homes for the homeless, provided food for the hungry, and created opportunities for those who had been crushed by misfortune. And in the doing, Thomas discovered a truth far more valuable than gold. True wealth wasn't measured in possessions, but in the richness of the human spirit. It was in the act of giving, of sharing, of loving unconditionally that true happiness resided. Thomas's story became a beacon of hope, a testament to the transformative power of kindness. It served as a constant reminder that even the smallest act of generosity can have a profound impact, not just on the lives of others but on our own hearts and souls. For in giving we truly receive, and in lifting others we rise ourselves.